My guest today is Dr. Karl Hebenstreit. He holds a PhD in organizational psychology, a master's in human resource management, a bachelor's in psychology, French, and political science. He coaches clients in emotional intelligence, strategic thinking, authentic leadership, and success in their new executive roles. He loves what he does, seeing the positive impact on clients who range from individuals to CEOs and teams at companies such as AT&T, Microsystems, Kaiser Permanente, Cisco's, and Sony. Of notable interest, he used AI to scale his coaching business using a digital clone of himself, built an app program to model how he coaches clients. Nicknamed Karl, AI, Karl.
That's it, yeah.
The AI is his twin digital clone, which he says enables his coaching services to be available to clients 24/7. He says it's been programmed with his 30 years of experience, and it's not a substitute for himself, the real Karl. It's to supplement normal Zoom calls with clients. So clients get both. He also says it's not an answer bot. Rather, it's an app that gives clients real coaching conversations similar to ChatGPT. It remembers, learns, and recognizes you. His books include The How and Why, Taking Care of Business with the Enneagram.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Nina and the Really, Really Tough Decision. We'll talk about what that one's about. Karl's also took a leap of faith and followed his dream. In the midst of the pandemic, he quit his corporate job to pursue solopreneurship, where he says he could make a bigger difference with a larger, wider range of clients in different industries. Welcome to my show, Karl.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for having me.
So tell me about this app, Karl.
AIR Karl, yeah.
Yeah. It reminded me of, I took an NLP course once, and when I took the second class, our instructor trying to come up with more courses, he's like, if you like a small group of students, you're welcome to sign up for this special opportunity. We'll meet at my home every weekend, and you guys can model my coaching, how I do. You're like, literally, we'll work on each other, work on as if you were clients, and you guys take notes and try to model. And I'm an engineer, so I recorded, I took a flow chart.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we didn't have ChatGPT and stuff then. How'd they do it?
I wish I knew the background, but I'll tell you how my involvement in it. So I basically provided all of my content. So the AI read all my content, my books. I have all the podcasts that I've been on. It's just looked at my website. It's looked at articles I've written. So it's looked at all of that. And then I even created some if-then scenarios for it too, because I wanted to make sure that when I was testing it, it didn't necessarily have, it doesn't have HR knowledge. So if a client is talking, for example, there was one instance when a client was talking about something and it was a unionized environment. So it didn't know to ask it a question about, hold on a second, did you involve the union?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you just did it without involving the union, that could be a problem.
That's why there's that little footnote at the bottom of ChatGPT. Don't take this for granted. It's prone to errors, et cetera, right?
Exactly. So I came up with some if-then scenarios, especially when I use the Enneagram, because I do use the Enneagram in most of the work that I do with executive coaching, leadership development, team development, organization development, even in the speaking engagements that I do. I talk about using the Enneagram in life and work. And so I wanted it to be able to give nuanced coaching based on the Enneagram type of the individual. So if it knew that it was going to have problems with boundaries, like to really reinforce it. Hold on a second.
Yeah, I really want to dive into that because I didn't know what the Enneagram was before reading your profile and the 9 personality types.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get the AI app out of the way because it was so interesting. And
it is. And different coaches are using it in different ways. So the head of this organization, Amigo.ai, reached out to me over a year ago, and he wanted to just do exploratory work on just figuring out, would this be of use? Would executive coaches use this in their practice? And so I wasn't ready at that point to say, yeah, let's do it. but I gave him my insights and my criteria and some watch outs and how it could work and what to make sure it could do and what it wouldn't do and all that. And then I remember that the timing was really cool because I think it was about 2 months before. So this must have been like maybe May that he reached out, like 2 Mays ago. And I forget whether it was July or August of last year, there was the International Coach Federation conference where all of his target audience was going to be. So I said, "Have you heard about this organization? This is where all the people that are going to be interested in this are going to be." So he
Well, you know
booked a
what's
flight.
interesting about that? What comes to mind is keeping an open mind. There's a
Yeah,
lot of people that just, oh, I want to be a life coach, and they go take a course, and then what's the first thing they do when they get their certificate? They try to create online content.
yeah,
Well, how can you create online content that's new and unique and authentic and not just copy from your classes if you haven't had any experience?
exactly.
To which, Karl, the benefit I see of this is it's almost like there's going to be a lot of bad coaching apps.
Mm,
And quickly people will go, oh, use the Karl app. And then, of course, if you want the real Karl, call the real Karl.
exactly. Still available.
Yeah. So you can program it with garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly.
Same thing in, same thing out. Like, what makes you special? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like the actual baseline coaching chatbot that exists is fantastic because in coaching, you don't give advice. You don't tell the person what to do. You help them come up with
Oh,
what's
that's
right for
another
them.
benefit of this.
Yes.
Why do we need 1,000 more coaches teaching the same thing if I can just use an app?
Yeah. Yeah. So the insights, the Carlized insights that it provides would be some models. So if a person doesn't know how to do something and it's not part of their repertoire, it's not part of their skills, it does give them some, oh, try this model out when you're dealing with this situation. How does that work?
What comes to mind is an app, a medical app. Like, you have an issue at home, you're not feeling well, you got a cold or a flu. Before you go to the doctor, you use the internet.
Yeah,
Now you
exactly.
would use ChatGPT and you would also tell ChatGPT, I'm allergic to, whatever allergy
Right.
medication. So it gives you a better feedback. You could do that with the coaching app too as a foundation and layer on top of that your Enneagram and your unique stuff that you do, which we'll talk about next, but
Yeah.
get the AI out of the way because
Mhm.
so many people are worried about the AI. They think it's going to ruin their life and just kill their job. And I think it will if you just want to go take a course, like be a coach, for example, and not do anything further.
Mhm.
But if you want to add to that your own value, then you're always going to be valuable.
Exactly. I think it's really finding what your niche is and how much extra value you can add that people need, that people really
Yeah.
they want and they'll seek you out for.
Yep.
Absolutely. The other thing I wanted to say with the AI was we started out with it just being for, not just, but being for coaching. And then I'd written a book. My last book that I wrote was Explicit Expectations, which came out this past June. And they told me that I could actually create an e-learning class using AI of the book. So the AI would walk you through and would then act as a sparring partner. At the end, it could be, let's do a role play.
Hmm.
And you'd be doing a role play with AI. You don't have to have a human being that you do the role play with,
Mm-hmm.
or gives you an assignment or checks in on an assignment for you. So I was,
Some people go, my partner is a robot. This
there you
is pretty
go.
realistic. He or she answers me always in a robotic, excuseful, like repetitive way that's
Yeah.
predictable. So
But that was another application that we're using AI Carl for, and it's teaching the explicit expectations content, providing actual experience and
is that your course, Explicit Expectations? Is that one of your,
that's the ones. Yeah.
oh, so tell me about that. That seems kind of something you're passionate about, or it's on the
Yeah. So just like what you said earlier about the coaching, and we said that it wouldn't necessarily give you an answer. The explicit expectations is the answer. So instead of expecting that it's going to be coaching, this is actually, okay, no, we're going to do e-learning. We're going to teach you these foundational these models and expectations that your organization has of you without ever telling you that they had these expectations of how do you do performance feedback? How do you do one-on-ones? How do you communicate? How do you engage your employees? How do you terminate someone? How do you hire someone? All these things that no one actually teaches you, but expects you to know when you're promoted into a supervisory or management position.
Hmm.
So this AI, our Carl, will actually teach you that. We'll go through the content of the book to teach you that. And at the end of each chapter, we'll give you opportunities to practice what you've
You
learned.
know, it's great, but at the same time, I'm thinking of I'm working my job as an engineer, and my boss, who's supposed to be smarter, more experienced, he's got his app out on his phone, like everyone has their phone. Seriously, man? Like,
Is this the app that
right?
tells him how to interact with you and how to give feedback?
Yeah, exactly. Why don't you just give me the app? Like, save money. You know, this is where we can cut
Yeah.
jobs. If I was executive leader, I'd be like,
Mhm.
you know, we don't need that guy. He's just give the app to a subordinate.
Yeah. Well, and that's the purpose of the explicit expectations. It's to prevent the leader from sitting there trying to look up the answer and have the app. It's to train them in advance so that they know what to do in every single situation that's going to be brought up to them.
Why don't we train them before they get in that position?
So I actually saw that. There was a recent article that said I think it was 70% of people say that the companies do not train their managers or supervisors before they promote them into a people management position. They just
Well, there's
don't.
two reasons for that. One is they always promote people they want to get out of the way because they
Hmm.
want to move them out of your department.
Hmm.
So they move them somewhere else. And how do they do that? They promote them. That's classic,
Hmm.
right? And the other is the people that fake it because they're just go-getters. They want that leadership position
Yeah.
so badly, even though they really don't deserve it and not qualified.
They
And
just want the
somehow
money.
they, what's that?
They want the money.
They want the money, right? Exactly, and the prestige. And somehow they talk their way into it.
Yeah. And so you're right. I think you're right about that. I think people the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? So people that say I want that position, and shame on the company for not saying, why do you want this position? Because if the person says, I want this position because I want to make more money or I want the next step up, then the answer is, well, do you want to manage people or do you
Well,
just
they
want
will,
more
no one's
money?
ever be that honest. They'll always say, oh, I aspire to be, make a change, a difference in the world, like blah, blah, blah. This, probably get it from AI. Like, AI, tell me what to say
Yeah,
to my,
give me the
yeah,
answer,
yeah.
right?
Tell me what to say to my boss so I get this promotion.
Yeah. So I've worked in some companies that do it right because they know that in an
Oh, cool. Awesome. Tell me about it. Tell me about a real story like that.
Yeah, so they understood that, hold on, people are just wanting to get promoted into people management positions because they just want the next level up. They want a promotion, they want a raise, but they're
Mhm.
maxed out at whatever their technical individual contributor role is. So in addition to having this route that goes up into a manager, people manager position, they also had an extra ladder that went up in the technical specialization where they still stayed individual contributors, but were still able to progress to those same levels that the managers had. So their salary could increase, their span of control increase, their responsibilities increase. So it's really coming up with solutions like that that really help to put people in the right positions as opposed to, no, I have to be a people manager to get more money, and even though I hate people, right?
Well, we had that at Motorola actually, and some
Mhm.
of the older, engineers who would just come to work in jeans would be on the same level as the guy in the suit and tie,
Yeah.
and it would really frustrate the suit and tie people. But they're like, we can't get rid of him. He's the expert. He knows the technology. So,
Yeah. If you got rid of them, you wouldn't have a business.
yeah, it's kind of like a full-time consultant on who's been there forever. Yeah. Well, it's good to hear some people other that's what you teach or how you work with companies.
Yeah, it's looking for the solution to, what is the real problem here? What do people really want? Not what they tell you that they want, but what do they really want? What is it that really motivates them? And the Enneagram helps get to that, of course, as well.
You want
But
to talk
it's
about that
really
now?
sure. What do you want to know
So,
about it?
okay, so let me introduce it. So Carl wrote a dissertation for one of your degrees called Using en Enneagrams to Help Organizations Attract, Motivate, and Retain Their Employees. I had to look it up. Wikipedia says it defines 9 personality types. Tell me what it is and how you use it in these 9 types in your work.
Yeah. So it is called and so the Enneagram is considered a personality typing system, but it's really about motivation. So each human being, each one of us has a drive that is related to one of these nine core motivators that human beings have human beings have. And it's something that drives us for our entire lives. We're born with it. It's ingrained in us when we in our childhood, we consider it a survival strategy, and we look at the world through that lens and we behave according to these motivations or these understandings of how the world is. And there are eight other different types out there, other perspectives, eight other perspectives, but we have our own, and we expect that other people also look at the world through that same lens. And that's where we
But
can
they
get into
don't. There's
trouble.
eight other types, more or less.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
once we realize, okay, this is mine. Oh, and there are others. Okay, great. There are others. Let's then find out, how do I work with these others? Like, first of all, what are the
Oh,
others? And how do I work with them? Do they maybe they even have some validity in what they're seeing that maybe I'm missing? Maybe my way of looking at the world is missing a couple extra things because they can see something I can't.
yep.
So how can I then integrate that? First of all, understand it, empathize with it, and then integrate it into my own worldview so that my worldview becomes more robust and actually more accurate because you're seeing the reality as opposed to just the interpretation based on that one worldview that you're looking at. So when you integrate those other eight worldviews, you really have the full picture of what's going on.
And now imagine, and I'm trying to look if I had some app like a Star Trek tool. Can you scan that person? Tell me what type they are, and then okay, here's the flow chart. How I motivate, respond, work with them.
Yes.
It does remind me of how if you get the sometimes a person who knows the least bit of technical stuff in the same room as a technical guy, a melting pot.
Yeah.
The people come up with different ideas you haven't thought of as the engineer, and
Exactly, because they have a different perspective. They have a
yeah.
different perspective, and that's exactly what we're talking about. So, unfortunately, we don't have one of those scanners, those Star Trek scanners,
Mhm.
those tricorders, or whatever they call them. You have to have a conversation with the person, and hopefully, they will understand it as well, or you can ask questions to help find out what really drives them or how they may be looking at the world differently than you do. And it's actually really, really simple. So there are nine of them, but you can break them up into three sets of three. And if you think about it, three of them align with thinking styles, three of them align with feeling styles, and three of them align with action styles. So each human being is going to be using one of the three action styles, one of the three thinking styles, and one of the three feeling styles. And one of those that they align with is going to be their core motivation as well.
Hmm.
So I don't know if you want me to run through
Well,
them.
let's take I'm a thinker for
Okay, what's your thinking styles?
thinking style. Say
Yeah.
I was with an action person. I'm
Mhm.
guessing that means they just want to do it. Like, let's not think about it, let's just do something. Like, get started, right?
But you take action too, though, right?
Oh, sure. After I consider, okay, what might be the solution to the problem? Yeah.
Right.
What's an example of action in a feely type?
So, okay, so it really depends. So let's say so every single person's gonna have an action style, a feeling style, and a thinking style, even if it's not, and one of those is going to be their core motivation in addition to being that style in that center. And you're absolutely right. If you have the same style as somebody else, you're going to understand them better, right?
Well, you
So
might be
even
stuck in the room not getting anything done. If I was with another thinker, you might just think all day until, like you said, the action guy, okay, can we do something now?
yeah. Yeah, but so let's just say your thinking styles are the same, but your core motivation is in the thinking center, but the other person's core motivation is in the action center. Even though they have the same thinking style you do, they also are more driven to action.
Oh, actually, I'm driven, motivated by action. I actually would like, can we just do something? I just
Perfect.
think about it first, you know.
Yeah.
Think before you cross the street, look both ways.
Yeah. And that's what we should be doing, right? We really should be thinking before we jumping into action because we want to make sure that we're taking the right action.
Hmm.
So the thinking styles are one of three. So there's one that's very objective, taking the good, the bad, the ugly, looking at it, making it make sense, creating models, creating frameworks that'll predict what may happen because they want to make sure that they don't look foolish. They want to be ready for whatever may happen so that they won't look foolish. They want to have the knowledge, they want to have the wisdom. They're really collecting all
Oh,
the
I
data.
see. I'm not that kind of thinker. I know the types. I'm like, can we just run the experiment? How many times are we going to design the experiment? We never
Hmm.
run the experiment. We're never going to have any more data to actually analyze.
Right.
Stuck in that thinking.
Yeah. So it could be that could be
Perfection.
analysis paralysis
Hmm.
if they don't then move on to the action
Yeah.
style. So that was the objective one. That's type five, the observer or analyst. Then there is a style that's more about worst case scenario planning. They don't see objectively, they see the worst case. They see, uh-oh, there's a danger. Oh, this could happen. We didn't take that into consideration, right? And it's not that they're trying to throw monkey wrenches into the project. They want the project to succeed, and they want to make sure that the project is successful by taking into consideration these things that could happen so that we can have plans for them and then put them into action if that actually does happen.
Like the Titanic.
Yeah,
Too
theoretically.
many plans and oops, one oops.
Yeah, they didn't take other things into
Yeah.
consideration. Yes. So objective is the five. The worst case scenario planning, which is the loyal skeptic, is the type six. And then the next one is the seven, which is the positive outlook. So
Hmm.
it's very much about vision and opportunity and freedom to choose and excitement and positive outcomes. So really looking at the best case scenario. What's the best case? We don't have to worry about anything else. There's the best case. You'll just go towards that. It'll happen.
Like a manic depressive, a manic
Probably on the manic side. Yes.
on the manic side.
Yes. Yeah. So those are the three different thinking styles. So people will either be very objective, people will either plan for the worst case scenario, or they might always be looking at the positive and not and basically discount the other stuff that could be coming into play.
So how do we get them to work together then?
Well, you want to work because you
Well, yeah, I
need.
mean, yeah, how do you get them to work together?
So by having them realize that those three styles are necessary.
Oh, just by having them understand that
Yeah.
we are different, which is like
Yeah.
your book. You have this book, Nina and the Really, Really Tough Decisions,
Right.
and it won an award and it's available in several languages. You also speak several languages, I think.
Yeah.
The cover makes it look like a children's book at first. And then I read the subtitle, An Introduction to the Enneagram Through the Lens of Decision Making for Children and Adults. And it says, Nina meets with each of her 8 friends to ask advice how they make decisions so she can make better decisions. And it's designed to teach you about different personality types. I'll bring them all together is better than, yeah.
So you're absolutely right. It's first of all understanding which lens or perspective you're taking in this case, thinking style, and then realizing that, oh, hold on a second, I'm not taking into consideration these other two that are also equally valid. How do I access that? Or how can I work with someone who already looks through the world through that lens? Because we need that information. We need that, like you said in your earlier example of bringing in the technical engineer and then the user who doesn't know how to use it. You get that other perspective. You need that other perspective. And that's how you create a better product that's more applicable to your audience.
Now, if you and I know this, and I go to work or any situation, I have 2 other people, they're in 2 other mindsets.
Yeah.
I realize I need to work with these people to really
Mhm.
make the best thing happen. How, after I work with them for a while, I can't expect them to come on board
Mhm.
and understand what I know about
Right.
enneagrams.
Right.
What if they're stuck still? What if argumentative? Oh, conflict.
Yeah.
What are some tips like how to resolve conflict?
Yeah.
Meaning, really, it's just angst amongst the group now. I
Right.
understand I need to work with you guys, but we're not getting anywhere now. I've been working with you
Right.
for a while. We're in conflict. How do we resolve that?
So it's basically the exact same steps we already took. It's finding out this is the way I'm looking at the problem. How are you looking at it? What lens are you using? What perspective are you using? So you're seeing it differently. Or remember the whole elephant and people are going and they're saying, "Oh, I feel the trunk, so it's a snake or whatever." Oh, I feel the leg of it, but it's a tree. Well, there's a whole analogy like these
Okay.
people are blindfolded and they have an elephant in front of them, but each of them is looking or feeling or perceiving the elephant from a different angle or a different perspective, and they don't see the whole picture.
Hmm.
right? So the person that's feeling the leg thinks, oh, this is a tree. It's a giant trunk. It's a trunk of a tree, right? The person that's sensing I don't know if it was the tail or the trunk, is saying, oh, it's a snake. It's probably the tail. So, but they're looking at it from different perspectives. So if we just communicate and we just ask, like, tell me how you're looking at it. What angle are you taking on this? What do you see when you're looking at this problem or challenge? I'll tell you what I see. Let's add it together. What do you see? The third person. What do you see? The fourth person. What do the fifth person see? How do we then bring all these perspectives together? We already know what the North Star is. We know we have to solve this problem. We know we're doing this because we need to create a product or solve a need or whatever it is. So we know what the North Star is or the true north.
Does it help if you ask first, at first, say, tell me how you see this, then I will tell you how I see it.
Yeah,
Let the other person go first.
absolutely. Because so from emotional intelligence perspective, you already know how you think about it. You're already thinking like I'm seeing this, it's a trunk, it's a tree. I'm looking at a tree, but it's not. And they're feeling and saying it's not a tree, it's something else. So you already know it's a tree or you think it's a tree. And then you say, tell me, what do you see? Right? And you don't have to tell them what you see unless they ask you. Ideally, they're going to ask you because they're going to want to engage with you and
Oh,
also,
that might actually help me. If I'd answered first,
mhm.
better for my answer to make me look smarter. If I, you see where I'm going with this, Carl? I get their
But
answer first. I'm the thinker. I process it. I make my answer better. Here's what I think. I think there's a trunk and a tree, and I think we should go climb the tree or whatever. I didn't know about it before. You just told me. Now I know both.
exactly. And then, you know what? That's not it though, because then you need a third input and a fourth input, as many inputs as possible.
And then I'm gonna
So
go
if you're
last. I'll ask for everybody's input first.
some people do that. That's a strategy that they take,
Hmm.
right? And then they take the whole system and they put it all together and they say, okay, this all makes sense. I now understand everyone's different point of view. This is what it all has in common. This is if we put it all together, this is what we have that we're working with.
Right.
So that is totally, I mean, some leaders do that. Some people who are leaders don't want to give the answer themselves because A, they may not know it. But B, the reality is just like you said earlier, the more people that you have involved with different perspectives, the better the answer is going to be.
Oh, also there's bias. If I am the leader if I'm
Yep.
Einstein and Einstein were to tell you first what he thinks about the theory of relativity,
Hmm.
you're never going to have your own thought because you're always going to think,
Exactly.
I got to
Yep.
top that or stay in line with that because he knows what
Right.
he's talking about.
Exactly. Exactly.
Hmm.
So it's really so it's engaging other people and finding out their perspective, just asking them. It's really being in conversation and relationship with them to figure out what is it that they see, how do they see it, and how can you make it make sense along with your own thinking if it's different. How can you integrate that? That diversity of thought and diversity of perspective. How can you use it to integrate it all and have a much better understanding of the total
And
situation?
all this is programmed into your Carl AI app somehow.
It is. It is.
I was going to ask you if we could test drive it with me, but I think it would take too long for me to become familiar with it. Just,
If you want, so tomorrow I'm actually doing a demo where people who can log in and dial into the Zoom call, which I have an Amigo AI is going to be on it with me, allowing the participants to do a test drive of it. So if you want,
nice.
I can get you that information
That'd be
tomorrow.
great.
It happens tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific time.
I'd love to participate. So on your website, there's the test to do to see what your personality type is, your Enneagram, and it'll send you a report. There's also one for relationships. Here we're talking about
Yeah,
intimate relationships,
the couples report. Yeah.
couples report. Tell me about the couples report.
Well, the test is through a company called Integrative Enneagram Solutions. They're based out of South Africa, and Dirk Klute is the creator of this. And it really is the most valid instrument to be able to tell you not only your core type, but your subtype and all the how much of each of the other styles you have within you as well. And there's so many different variables. The so you have all this information. You take the test, you have all this information, you know what your style is. The couples report was created out it came second, or actually not even second, because they did a team report too. So the team report is you're on a team of 5, 10, 20 people, however many it is. You each take the Enneagram report. When all of your data is aggregated, when you come
Oh,
together,
nice. See, I didn't know that. I was wondering how, if I know your material, how I'm going to go to work and use any of this.
yeah. So you can do a team report.
Oh, perfect. I get it. And then you know what Joe and Sally are and what you are.
Not only do you get to know what their styles are, not only their core type, but also all the different thinking, feeling, action styles, then you also figure out that when this team comes together, based on all of this, on the results that were given to us, you come out as a type 5 team or 6 team or whatever it is, or maybe an 8 team, meaning all of these energies are enhanced when you're all brought together. Whether it's your primary or secondary or tertiary or whatever it is, this is what gets enhanced and bubbles
I'm
up to
not
the top.
following
This
you.
is
What gets
culture.
enhanced? We know what each other's types are.
Mhm.
What's the enhancement part?
So let's use a practical example. How many people are on your team?
5.
Okay, 5 people on your team. Let's just say you have someone who's a type 1, someone who's a type 3, someone who's a type 5, someone who's a type 7, and someone who's a type 9. So we got the all odd numbers. We'll just put
Hmm.
all odd numbers just to make it different. Out of all of your data, your highest score is going to be your core type. So I'm just gonna
What's
and
core type mean?
your core type is your core motivation. This is what motivates you throughout your entire life. And it's going to reside in one of those three centers. It's either going to be a thinking style, a feeling style, or an action style.
Hmm.
So I'm just going to make this up, totally
Yeah,
making it up.
yeah.
It's just because let's say type one. So
Okay.
type one is the perfectionist or reformer, always looking to fix things, to make things right. What's the right thing to do in this situation? And it's an action style as well.
Hmm.
So you have one person who's a type one. However, the type three, their second highest score, their second highest energy, even though the type three was their highest energy, that's why they're a type three. Their second highest energy was type one, right?
Okay. Which is this is kind of almost like astrology a little bit. You got your moon and Saturn and or something like that, which means you're not that sign, but you have some of this in your sign in that house or something like
We
that.
have all of them, but we do have all of them. That's the difference with the astrology is we have every single one of these energies within us. It's just that some of them are higher than others, and we're not as aware of the others unless we focus on it because it is within us. So there's some that are dominant for us and we just are comfortable with it. It's our default. There are higher accessibility and others that are lower accessibility, but they're still within us. And we can become more complete by focusing on the ones that are the lower scores. So the team report will say, oh, even though you have 5 people and each of them is a different style, when you all come together, you're actually a type 1 team because the type 1 energy is so strong in everyone, even if it's not their primary, maybe it's their secondary or their tertiary
I
or even
see.
their
Yep.
whatever. And that's the one that gets enhanced. And that's the one that comes out as you are a type 1 team when you all come together.
I see. And then what do you do with that?
So yeah, so you can identify the strengths and it also has blind spots. So the strengths would be, oh, they're very highly attentive to detail. They're very highly attentive to quality. They really are focused on the mission and they know exactly what to do because they put things through the rubric of what are the rules here? What's the right thing to do according to our values? And this is what we're going to do. However, there may be a problem with not including stakeholders or relationship management. So how do we make sure that we make that doesn't become an issue, right? Knowing that this could be a blind spot or it may not be as
Letting us know our weaknesses so we can pay attention to them,
exactly.
be aware of them.
Yeah, and you always get the opportunity to say this is an issue, this is not as much of an issue, this is an issue. So these are our top 2 or 3 things. So let's make sure that we put in some sort of engagement rules that help us to remind us to focus on
Kind of like
that.
going to your doctor, finding out you're diabetic and go, yeah, you need to watch your sugar intake.
Exactly.
And then you'll think better and you'll you'll just work better.
Yeah. That's a great analogy. Absolutely.
Um, you're also a photographer.
Yeah, I am.
You're the second guest I've had on in a while that is doing something really professional, outstanding, and you look at their website and he was a musician. He was actually had a record deal when he was younger.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right. But there's two things, the reasons I bring this
Musician
up.
too.
What's that?
I'm a musician too.
Oh,
I'm a
okay.
singer. Yeah.
So two things. One, your pictures are great. I looked at your Instagram.
Thank you.
And you didn't just put I'm a photographer up just because you want to be a photographer. I mean, you have some authenticity behind it.
Mhm.
But also it's admirable because it's authentic. Like this other person was saying, it's who I am. It's part of my story.
Yeah. And you can see what catches my eye, what's important to me. You can see my values through my photography. You can see what I feel is what I find to be beautiful. I focus on nature and architecture mostly. Yeah. Funny, you should ask. So photography has always been a hobby of mine from grade school. And I love taking pictures. I just put them out in the world. I put them on Instagram, I put them on Facebook. People like them and have always complimented me on them. So I thought, well, how they're just out there. How can I make this a little bit more focused on helping people as opposed to it's just on Facebook or on Instagram or whatever where people can randomly run across them. So on my website, I actually put a new tab on photography, and I decided, wouldn't it make sense when you're coaching someone and they say, I have this goal, I have to remember this, how do I sustain this focus on what I'm choosing to develop? If they chose a picture that's meaningful to them of what that development goal is, rather than having a little sticky on your laptop or something an email reminder or a calendar reminder that pops up that tells you to meditate or whatever it is,
Hmm.
wouldn't it be great if they had a picture that they could even put in their house or they could put it on their screensaver or on their phone or whatever it is, that's the reminder, that's the constant reminder.
It's kind of like a personal. Is there some association you ever notice between the pictures people choose and the personality types?
Sometimes there's one exercise that I do in team workshops where I have pictures of lenses of glass like glasses, and the lenses are different colors, and the rims are different, the frames are different, and so different people tend to be attracted to different Enneagram types that tend to be attracted to different lenses and aesthetics. So yes, I do see that.
So
Mhm.
the posting of the picture, tell me more about it. Is it it's to remind them or it's a feeling they associate with that picture, a feeling?
It's both. Whatever it means to them. So they select whichever of the pictures that they want. And I have it in different categories. Like if you're having trouble with boundaries, if you're having trouble with relaxing, if you're having trouble with, relationship, all the different elements that they might be working on, or including others, or creating relationships. There could be bridges that they want to look at. Oh, I need a bridge. I need a bridge to remind me to bridge these gaps or bridge these relationships or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It could be doors or portals or windows that can help them with boundaries and can they open? Can they be shut? Or what is it that needs to happen here?
Do you ever
It could
find
be,
that when like that you when you took the picture, you have one type of feeling, maybe like euphoria or wonder or sadness,
yeah,
and then they actually have a different one?
yes, absolutely. Because it's different for different people.
Right.
And
And
that's the
which
beauty of art. People interpret it. It's very, very subjective.
so do you don't ask them what they feel or think on this. You just take it because I don't want to break it. I don't want to ruin your picture for you by telling you what it means for me or
Oh no, I wouldn't tell them what it means for me. It's what it means for them. I will ask them what it means for them, but I will not. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's their interpretation, and it's makes it meaningful to them.
So your company is Perform and Function, right?
Yes.
Management consulting firm. What is a common problem people come to you? Like, what's a typical day, like a typical new client?
So it depends. It can start either from an executive coaching relationship where someone's either promoted into a new role and now they're a CEO or a chief of staff and they have not been in that position before and they want to be successful. So how can they make sure that they focus on the right things to be successful in that
Oh,
role?
back to what we were talking about originally with having
Hmm.
an app to help you out. In the meantime, you didn't get the training you should have had before they promoted you.
Exactly. Exactly. And a lot of times, especially now, there are many more people reporting into one leader, and the leader doesn't have time to work with them or develop them or
Hmm.
focus on their
Or doesn't
training.
want to. I had one boss explain to me, a middle boss, that the bigger boss doesn't want to manage people.
Yeah,
He wants to lead the company. He doesn't want to micromanage people.
yeah,
That's why I'm your manager.
yeah. Yeah. And a lot of times I'm brought in because they don't have the time or even know how to do it. Sometimes they don't even know how to do it, right? They may not like doing it. They don't have time to do it. Now they're given an additional role. Now they have two leadership roles as opposed to the one that they had before. They have more people reporting to them. So they need someone to be there to help make sure that the person is successful.
So what's the first thing you do with them? Have them take the test to see what type they are.
Sometimes they've already taken it, and that's why they've reached out to me because they know that I use the Enneagram in my coaching.
Hmm.
Or if they haven't done that, then yeah, and especially if it's a team. So the other entry point is going in and doing a team building. So someone reaches out to me and says, we need to do a team building. We need to, we're having some issues, or it's just our, end of year thing or whatever we're doing. We want a team building, and we've heard the Enneagram is the best way and the best solution that really gets in deep and is going to help us. So once I do that, then different coaching engagements can result from that.
I see.
Or I come in and then the leader says, yeah, let's do this with the entire team because I see the value in it. And now they get the training as well as a team and they all know how to work together better. And then again, executive coaching sessions can come out individually from the people on that team
I
if they
can
want.
definitely see the value of starting with the whole team so I
Yeah,
understand everybody else's type as well as mine.
absolutely. Yeah.
Some people, when I was doing the Wikipedia to see what this term means exactly, think that Enneagram is pseudoscience because it
Mhm.
can't not be tested scientifically. Whatever that means, scientifically is also a definition. What does it mean?
Yeah.
So some say it has no reliability or validity. What's
Mhm.
your experience with that?
So I hired a statistician. I'm not a statistician myself. I hired a statistician when I did my PhD thesis, and I said, "Here, I've done this survey. I've gotten all these different people's input. They know what their Enneagram type is. They answered my questions. I have all these different hypotheses about related based on the Enneagram that this is why they decided to join an organization. This is why they decided to stay with an organization. This is why they decided to leave an organization. I want to see if that's related to the Enneagram." So Alan Bostrom was his name, is in San Francisco, and he did all this different Cronbach's alpha analysis and everything that he did on there. And he said, yeah, this is a disparate system. So these nine constructs, they have construct validity. They're totally separate constructs. They do exist separately of each other. There's not an overlap. There's not. So he used his statistical methods to prove that these nine constructs do exist, that they are valid. And for the people that are questioning it, I say, find out, try it out for yourself because
How'd they find out there were nine and not 10 or seven or eight?
it's ancient. It's actually it's
Oh,
an ancient model. It's traced back. The symbol itself is a Sufi symbol, and but you see the concepts of the Enneagram in the pyramids of Egypt. You see it actually in the Odysseus's the travels.
yeah, I did not read far enough in Wikipedia, apparently. This is fascinating.
Yeah, if you read the Odyssey, the nine lands that are visited by Odysseus are the nine Enneagram types in order.
Oh, a story like a parable to do look kind of like your book.
Exactly. So it's ancient. And people go and tour. There are tours in Egypt where you see all the different symbolism and
That's
how
enough for me, at least to respect that it has some solid foundation.
it's old. It's old. It's ancient.
Unless you're going and doing graffiti on the pyramids, which I doubt is the.
No, you don't want to do that.
It would have been nice if they left us more about it,
Yeah.
how it works. So, is there anything we haven't talked about, Carl, that you'd like to mention or add you think is important for people to understand about this stuff?
Well, we talked about the thinking styles. We didn't really mention the action or the feeling styles, and I just want to really quickly talk about those because
Hmm.
that may resonate with some other people on the call on the
Yeah,
Zoom
definitely.
podcast. So the feeling styles, and again, remember, we all have these. Even though you might consider yourself a thinker, you still feel and you still take action.
Yeah.
So the feeling styles are the type two is the helper or giver, very considerate and very intuitive about other people's needs, putting other people's needs before their own. So they're always helping other people. So they have an intuition of what other people need, and they actually jump in and help them in order to be liked. The three is the performer. So even though they do feel, they push down those feelings because they need to perform, they need to achieve, they need to, no, I need the eyes on the prize, I need to achieve this goal. Feelings get in the way. I'm not going to deal with feelings. I get that they're there, but I'm not
Hmm.
dealing with them. And then the type four, and that's the performer or achiever. And the type four is the more empathic. So they are the artists, the creatives. Um, they're very introspective and they're very emotional. They feel, they empathize, they feel their own feelings, they feel everyone else's feelings as well. So everything is brought internally. So if you think about it, the twos are always externally focused on their feelings, the fours are always internally focused on their feelings, and the threes are, yeah, there's feelings, but I'm going external and I'm gonna achieve. So each one of us uses one of those three styles or flavors for our feeling when we access our hearts and our feelings. So for you, I don't know if you decided on a thinking style, but have you decided on a feeling style?
I definitely have feelings. I'm sensitive. I'm highly sensitive, intuitive, also highly logical, which is
They're
which is
not that can be and. It doesn't have to be an or. It can be an and.
uh, I'm not following you. I have all of the above, and I take action.
Yeah, no. The action isn't even part of this yet.
Okay,
So the action is the next triad that we're going to talk about. So so yeah, so if you do all three of those, you might want to try on, and as a practitioner, I'm not allowed, and I shouldn't be, and
sure.
nor do I tell people what their type is, or but try on all of them to see which one fits best. But if you're really identifying with all of them, I would check the type four out because most people would say, no, I'm not the four immediately.
What so when you say try on, what do you mean by how does that work? Try on? You pretend or you focus on one?
Think about it. Think about like, am I feeling everything that's going on here? Am I feeling things that are going on with my team, with my partner, with, the world? Am I taking all these in
Oh,
internally?
oh, I would tell you I feel first.
Hmm.
I take a moment, I feel, and then somehow I kind of intuitively know good or bad or which direction or something's not right. And then I think, why? Or is it me? Am I making it up? And then I might
Hmm.
take action by actually asking somebody, hey, is the building on fire? Why are y'all panicking? Or has the boss gone? Why y'all sleeping? Like I have this
Mhm.
feeling, but I'm
Yeah.
thinking, yeah, I think that's my,
And actually, that's the best sequence,
hmm,
right? We should all feel first, then we should think, and then we should take action. And that's because a lot of people skip the feeling part. A lot of people
it's,
think, well,
it was, Willie Nelson when he
mhm,
got not sued, the IRS told him, you owe us $2 million for not paying your taxes. And his bookkeeper did something he didn't know
mhm.
about or accident. It was an accident. And like, what are you gonna do? He's like, what am I gonna do? First, I'm gonna think about it for a day, or not think.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, not think. Feel. He meant first, I'm
yeah,
gonna feel what to do. I'm gonna
yeah.
check in with how do I feel about it for a day. Then I will tell you what I think we should do. How do I feel about it first? And then he came up with a brilliant strategy, which was he would pay the IRS by giving a free album, making an album that all the proceeds would go to the IRS.
Oh my God.
And he made a
Wow.
deal with them too. Doesn't matter how more or less that album makes, you guys can have it all. It might not make 2 million, but if it makes
Right.
five, you get it. Navigate,
Yeah,
negotiate, and then of course he didn't put his best songs on it.
of
That
course
wasn't
not.
it wasn't in the fine print. But anyway, so that stuck with me because like instead of getting reactionary, like okay, everyone get in here, get my attorneys and my accountant. Heck no, I'm taking the day to just process.
Yeah, and it's the pause. It's the pause is
Yeah.
really important before we take immediate action because that immediate action that we take is just reactive and it's not necessarily inclusive of all of our faculties. So making sure that we process our feelings first, then think about like what is the right thing to do based on the situation, and then what is the action to be taken, and then take that action.
What type are you, Carl?
So I lead. So we always say I lead with rather than say I am. I am is a shortcut, but I lead with is more real because we are all of the nine types and we can choose to use a different type. So I lead with type two, which is the helper or giver.
Okay.
Mhm.
Seems appropriate. You're helping people. Yeah.
Which then automatically becomes my feeling style because it's in the feeling center. Then my
And what
thinking
does that mean
style.
exactly? How, break it down further for me. You,
So the helper or giver is always, so the feeling part is I am looking externally to see the needs of other people and to fulfill those needs, sometimes at the detriment of my own, right? So the learning for the type two is put those boundaries in place, make sure you're putting your oxygen mask on first before you put the oxygen mask on other people, right?
what's a tip for people on how to do that, by the way? Boundaries. What's a simple one?
Yeah. So the symbol itself actually gives you these opportunities because there's a line that every type two, for type two, the type two is connected to the eight. The eight is great at boundary setting, right?
Oh,
So you go to the high side of eight, which it also involves boundary setting, and say, this is what first of all, this is what I'm capable of, and this is what I need to do for me. If this is in my remit, of course I will help you, but I need to take care of my goals first before I can help you,
this is
right?
what's good about a team. I would look in my playbook, my team book, and go, oh, so and so's got that number eight, that boundary skill. I'm going to him or her. Hey, our team doesn't need any more work from the big boss or whatever. We're focusing on this problem. Yeah. Can you do whatever you're good at setting boundaries? Apparently, I might be the leader, good at leadership then if I was the one to initiate that. Because hey,
Mhm.
maybe you should. Because that's your,
So you could learn, absolutely. So,
uh,
so the learning is how do you channel that team member's energy? What if they're gone, right? What if they're on vacation or whatever? How do you channel that? Because again, we all have those nine
mhm.
styles within us. It's just remembering that, oh, the eight is really good at setting boundaries. How do I do that? Right? If they're not here right now, but like in the book, Nina and the really, really tough decision, if her friends aren't there, she now knows how they think about things. So she can then, oh yeah, I'm going to access Juan's way of thinking or Kate's way.
She has the Carl app, the Air Carl app.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, so what is in plain English a simple phrase to remember if you're trying to set boundaries at work or at home?
That's good. So I think the first thing to do is to check in with yourself and say, am I being, am I honoring myself here or am I giving myself away? Right? So are my needs being met? Do I have my goals being met, my needs being met? And is helping this other person going to continue those needs being met? Or am I now going to put myself in jeopardy? Right? If all my needs are being met, if everything's all taken care of and I have the capacity and the ability and the willingness to do it, yes, absolutely. It's almost like, and there's a big resurgence of this now, the urgent important matrix, the Covey. I don't know if you're familiar with the Covey or Eisenhower had created this urgent important matrix to decide priorities, right?
Hmm.
So it's a two by two, because of course, if you want to become a millionaire, you create a two by two matrix.
What did two,
So
like four box, like one, two, three,
the four
four?
box, exactly.
Okay.
So things are highly important or not important, and highly urgent or not urgent. And important means that they are relevant to the achievement of your goals. They are relevant to you. If they're not important, that means they're not relevant to your goal achievement. They're relevant to somebody else's goal achievement and they've asked you to do it, right? And then urgency is there a deadline that needs to happen? It's coming up soon, or there's no deadline. This is just going on forever and who cares? So when you assign all the tasks that you do and you're asked to do into those quadrants, those four different quadrants, then you see that the ones that are urgent and important, the ones that are coming up soon, they have a deadline, and that only you can do because they're relevant to your goals, those are what you should be focusing on.
I see.
If they're urgent because someone else has decided there's a deadline on them and given to you to do, but it's not relevant to your goals and other people could do them, Can you delegate them? Can you find a way for some other group to do it? How do you say no? And that's another boundary setting, right? The other boundary setting is, okay, I need to meet my urgent and important goals. And by doing this, I'm not going to be able to do that. You're asking me to do something that's not part of them. It hasn't become part of them because that's not my scope. And now you're asking me to do it. So I,
It's very logical. I could see how you could program it in an app. I could,
you could do that.
yeah, ask you. I see why Amigo asked you to, volunteer to model you. The downside, I think of if you got used to using this every day, this technology, and all of a sudden you didn't have it, you'd be like a child, a kindergarten, unable to make a decision because your chat GBT is not asking you, is there a deadline? How valuable, important is this to you? Is Sally or Joe able to do it? Ask you, no one asking the questions to give you the answer. I almost wonder if you'd be able to think for yourself.
But the explicit expectations training class, though, teaches you the model so that you
Hmm.
could then put it through I mean, it's not going to do the shortcut of just asking you these questions. This is the model. Go ahead and you put your stuff in this matrix and then figure out for yourself because you're putting the stuff in there, right? You're putting in all those tasks and asks in there.
You're learning the process,
Yes.
not just being asked by the computer questions. You're actually
Mhm.
understanding the algorithm. You're understanding the algorithm
You're
there.
shown how to do it. Yeah. And the really cool thing about the Amigo technology is any question that AI or Carl asks you, there's a little drop down that says, why is it asking me this question?
Oh, nice.
So you can click on the little down arrow and it says it's trying to get to this. It's trying to understand this. It's trying to make a connection. It's bringing in the what you said yesterday or whatever. It tells you
It was
why it's
so you don't get offensive. Like, why is he asking me if I went out with her last night again, a
again.
second time, or yeah,
Is it
yeah,
judging me? Is it telling me I shouldn't?
yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Is
Yeah. So
it? Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say you can really use this for a lot of different reasons. The last three that we didn't discuss, so we discussed the thinking and the feeling, and the action styles are 8, 9, and 1. 8 is the boss or director or general, and that's an immediate execution-oriented action style. Like, let's jump in and do it. Let's take action immediately through others, through the whole team. Let's get everyone involved. Let's do it. Not necessarily thinking first, but
High
just
strung,
jumping in
like
and
high
doing it.
strung, A type, high strung.
It's definitely type A. Yeah, it's definitely type A personality. And it's action oriented. Out of the three different action styles, it's the one that takes action the fastest, the soonest. I'll go to the 1 next because the 9 is the one that takes it the slowest. So the type 1 is the perfectionist or reformer. And they're going to put it through a list of what's the right thing to do? What are the rules? What are the ethics? So
Thank
it's a
goodness
little
somebody's
slower.
considering that the right thing in the ethics.
Exactly. So they're going to put it through that rubric first and then take the action that rubric tells them to take. So it's not as immediate as the type 8, which is like, oh, this needs to be done, let's do it. The type 1's going to say, okay, let's do this,
Well, there's
right?
benefits to that too. It's not just ethically like, oh, let's be goody two shoes. There are a
Yeah,
lot of things that will make you that will help you prevent doing something that makes things
exactly.
worse or has an
Exactly.
outcome you didn't predict, another sub problem, another problem you didn't expect.
Right. So then let's go to the 9 though, because that's exactly what the 9 does. The 9 looks at the whole system. And the 9 doesn't like conflict and it believes that immediate action could create conflict. So they're like, no, 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 any action that we take could disrupt the equilibrium of this wonderful system that we have. So let's just wait a second, hold back, just see see what all the different options are. Let's wait. If we do nothing, maybe that'll be okay until they realize, okay, then we need to do something. So it's the slowest on the uptake to take the action, but it's still an action style because they do take action.
I've done that too. Maybe it's when you're climbing a mountain and you're waiting for the weather to change and you finally go, well, um, got to do something, got to stay or go.
Yeah,
You really,
looking at the whole system, right? You're looking at the whole system as opposed to maybe the 8 would say, no, let's keep going up the mountain. We have to get up the mountain,
yep.
right?
Or the other one saying, no, let's go home. It's too dangerous.
Exactly.
And you're just hanging out and waiting and hoping for the perfect time of perfect weather window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if they have a type 6 thinking style, which is worst case scenario. The danger in it would be like, yeah, let's go home now or strike a camp or something like that.
So I was almost wonder if there was, I'm completely making this up. This is like science fiction movie, but it's on the pyramids. You say in ancient civilizations knew about these nine types. If maybe if they had genetically engineered method ways of actually in a society encouraging the procreation of the nine types
Mm,
in an equal amount, such that
yeah.
the society in general would, accelerate in terms of development
Yeah.
because you have these nine types.
Yeah, and I don't know if we have an accurate understanding or analysis of what is the percentage. Is it equally distributed? Is it an equal distribution of the nine types, or is there a preponderance of one type over another? Because we need to really assess every single person on the planet to figure out what their types are and then look to see what that distribution is. So,
Now we're not so much of a close-knit society. You have money and you have segregation into different countries and stuff and interest and defense and stuff. So it's not the classic way of evolution
mhm,
in that way, anyhow.
yeah.
It's, somebody might have bombed all the eights or ones out of existence accidentally when a weapon hit the wrong country by accident.
You never
These
know. And
days,
different countries, by the way, do have, remember how we said the team reports, like a team comes together and they come up with like a culture of their own, an
hmm
Enneagram type of their own. Different countries have Enneagram overlays that are representative of their culture.
hmm.
Yeah. And companies do that as well. I mean, different companies can say this is a type 6 company. I worked for one company that was a very much a type 6 company.
What's
I
type
worked for
six?
another company that was a type 7. Hmm?
What's type six?
Type 6 is the loyal skeptic, the one, the worst case scenario planning, not a little bit more conservative, not risk taking.
Hopefully, that's like Merrill Lynch or a financial planning institution.
It was a clinical diagnostics company.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's probably valid.
Mhm.
What's an example of, did you say there's ones of countries?
Yeah, so they used to say that the United States was a very much a type 3 country. So very much about achieve, 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 individual achievement, right? And now they're saying that there might be movement for it to be more of a 7, type 7 country, which is more about still maybe focused on individual, but it's individual being happy, being taking advantage of opportunities, being more happy-go-lucky.
So I follow you with the individual achievements. Are you saying that the achievements are monetary, something not happy-go-lucky achievements?
So for the threes usually equate success with money, with monetary achievements. And the sevens are more about experiences and diversity of experiences and just a gluttony of experiences, experience after experience after experience.
I thought that you might be meaning that originally we thought it was for individual achievement, welcome to America, the dream. But then you ultimately realize that you have to give it back if the country is supposed to stay strong,
Right.
then you have to work together
Mhm.
to make it better. Like kind of we take care of you first and then you
Right.
contribute.
That would be more of a nine. That would be much
Hmm.
more of a nine type country. And Canada is a nine country.
Hmm.
Type nine, Canada is thought to have a nine culture.
Well, interesting you say that because I had someone on my show who was talking about immigration, and they used Canada as an example where to apply for immigration legally, they'll ask you what you do, what's your skill, what's your education, what can you bring?
Right. But can you contribute to our society, right?
Not just get in line, take a number, and we'll look at your application, but yeah, can you contribute?
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And ultimately, that's the goal. The goal is really for global citizenship, right? And that's the expansion of our own mindsets to be more system oriented, more thinking about the entire. structure and how the ecosystem works and can be sustainable.
Hmm.
And that's a type nine way of thinking.
Sounds like interesting work you're doing.
I love it.
So, last thing, tell me the story on. I was looking today when to confirm our meeting,
Mhm.
and I was like, well, he's not on that website. He's not on that website where I find guests. How did I find him? Because I know too much about him. I didn't find him on LinkedIn. There was something they posted on my show that said,
Yeah. So there's a podcast.
podcast guest.
Yes.
And where I'm going with this, Carl, is I found it. I found where you had submitted,
Mhm.
and it talks about in the middle of the pandemic. The reason people were asking to be guests is because I told this service, I'm looking for people who took a big leap and followed their dream.
Yeah.
And apparently that was you, right?
Yep.
So tell me about that part of your story.
So done this a couple times. So first of all, I'm actually Greek. So my mom is Greek. I was conceived in Greece. I was born in New York. And then when I was 2 years old, we went back to Greece. And so I was raised in Greece. And then back in 1980, we came back to the United States, to New Jersey. So I have this multicultural stuff going on here where I had to learn to assimilate all these different cultures and fit in fourth grade to transition from being European with a British accent because I'd been going to a British private school there to the not so niceness of the 10-year-olds in fourth grade. So that was one major transition that I had to navigate. And then later on, I the other big thing was coming out as gay. So that was
No, I didn't
another,
know. I did. I wouldn't.
yeah.
I'm so non-judgmental. Yeah. Or whatever the word. It's not even judgmental. What's the word? It'd be like if me say, "Oh, I could see what's the other word? When your man likes woman or a woman like, I don't even know how people
Your
go this.
heterosexuality or whatever.
I
Yeah.
don't even know how people do this, like
Yeah.
to other people. But
Yeah. So that was another big thing because there are societal expectations, there's familial expectations, and how to navigate that ability to just be true to myself at that
mhm,
point. Then there was another transition coming from, I decided, I don't know why, but I had this pulling, this calling to said, I need to go to California.
mhm.
I'd only been there once before, and this was with my parents, and we had just been on vacation, and I just felt like California's home. I just know that that's where I need to be.
Is it a feeling personality, like you're eight or
Yeah,
you're one or seven or
that
whatever the number is?
intuition. Yeah, it's that intuition of the type two, probably. Yeah. So it's packing up from New Jersey. Luckily, I worked for AT&T at the time, and they were headquartered in New Jersey, but they have obviously operations all around the country. And so I said, if there's ever an opportunity for anything in California, let me know. I'm happy to relocate out there. And they did. They had a big downsizing where they mushed together, I think it was at least three different jobs, and they gave me it. They put three jobs together and said, here, now you get to do this. So it was awesome. But I didn't know anyone out here. So I came out to California on my own and had to figure it all out. Luckily, I did some non-traditional things where normally people would sell their house or whatever, and then try to find a way to get to California. But I knew that California was more expensive, and I found a way to keep my house and rent it through an executive relocation company that would give me a lot more money than just a traditional rental situation would. Plus, they would be managing it, so it was fantastic. So that was paying for my mortgage in. It was paying for that mortgage plus also my mortgage in California. So it was fantastic because that was the only way I could make it work. And then really finding my family in the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus. So I joined the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus. I was with them for over 20 years and really having that structure. And then just, I guess my latest big transition was from being from the safety of corporate work where you have your benefits, you have your bonuses, you have your stock options, all that just
And if you're not working, you're still getting paid.
yeah, you take a vacation, you're still getting paid, whatever it is, to saying, you know what, I'm not being true to myself. I need to be able to go somewhere and I think I'm looking at it from the standpoint of go where you're appreciated, go where you're recognized, go where you're valued, and not where you're disrespected and just neglected.
Hmm.
So it's really that really helps me to help all of these of the variety and diversity of different clients that I have now, as opposed to being an internal where you're given these tasks and goals, but your clients may not want to do them. So you're like,
Well,
well,
your
I have to.
clients are they're trying to make a difference in their life. They're trying to make change, positive change.
Mhm.
Walk the walk. You've made positive change under difficult circumstances for yourself.
Yeah, and I think the books are helping making that positive
Hmm.
change. I think that now that clients that I get want that. They're ready for it. So they're looking for it as opposed to me trying to force, no, we have to force this initiative that the corporate headquarters wants you to have. And they're like, we don't want it. We have other things to do. So it's much better being able to work with clients that really want the services and they see the value in the services that you're providing.
Oh,
So
I see.
it's
Because people come to you, whereas before they would make you do it, or the company would
right.
make them work with you. They don't really want to work with you.
Exactly. And a lot of times also the internal consultants are not valued as highly as the external consultants are because the externals have broader perspective. They see other industries, they see other companies, how it works. So they bring all that with them.
Yeah.
So we bring that with us now. I mean, and I have that, I see that now. I see all the different industries and companies and organizations that I work with that all, again, very similar challenges that they have, but also very different situations that they're in.
Any last one bit of advice to listeners before I plug your website?
So I think that the only ask that I would have in my cheesy plug to save the world
Uh-huh.
and world peace is to get out of our own way. To get out of our own way, meaning we think things are a certain way. If we can expand our minds, we can use the Enneagram for that or other systems as well. But I'm a big proponent of the Enneagram, obviously, to understand that it's not just treating the world the way we want to be treated because that's very introspective and selfish, and it doesn't take into consideration the diversity and needs of everyone else and their perspectives, but to expand that to finding out more about how do they want to be treated? What are their styles of their preferences in communication, in feeling, in thinking, and taking action, in all these types of things? And then how can you integrate that knowledge into your own self?
Nice. His website is performandfunction.com. That's
Yeah.
performandfunction.com. Carl, thanks so much for being on my show.
Thank you so much, Daniel. It was a pleasure.
Take care.
You too.